Hey, what is up YouTube, Gino here. Today I hope you caught yesterday's video, the top 10 K-pop albums of 2018. If you haven't already seen that, I'd suggest going and watching that first. Today though, we have the top 50 albums of the year. This is a much longer list than last year. I wanted to mention more albums, and I've over the past 2 weeks or so been putting this list together. I'm pretty happy with it now. There's not a single album on here that I don't like, I can tell you that right now. This year has been such a good year for music, and wow, honestly, once we got to like the top 30, there were so many times when I was like, I really want to put this higher, but I just can't. In the end, it was very small reasons as to why they are where they are, but this I'm pretty happy with. Now this year I've listened to well over 400 albums, I would say, because I listen to albums. I don't do playlists like a lot of people. When I listen to music, I do albums through. Now there's real blends of genres here. I listen to a lot of music, and it could be from anyone really. I've listened to some weird stuff this year. In past years, my lists have pretty much just been pure hip-hop, but I've sort of branched out a little bit, tried some different things, and in general, I'm a little bit more open-minded about music these days. So yeah, let's get into this. I'm not going to talk about the albums that much. I'm going to rattle them off, and I might give some reasons every now and again, but in general, I'm just going to say the name up until we get to the final 10, and then I'll talk about reasons why they're that high. At 50, it is Amen by Rich Brian, released way at the beginning of the year, completely forgot about it. 49 is Victory Lap by Nipsey Hustle. 48 is Lay's Namanana. Yes, awful title. I always say it wrong. Namanana. It's actually a really fun album, and it's grown on me a lot. Comes in at 48. 47 is Room 25 by Noname. 46 is Loona's Plus Plus. 45 is Elephants on Acid by Cypress Hill. 44 is J.Cole's Kod. Wow, I didn't expect that to come so low down. I actually really dig this album, and it's probably J. Cole's best project since, it's a tough one, maybe Cold. I quite like Cold. At 43, I went with Shawn Mendes' self-titled album. That was such a surprise to me. Never been a fan of Shawn Mendes at all, but I was really digging that project. At 42 is August 08's Father. 41 is Eminem Kamikazee, the first time in like 15 years since an Eminem project, which has been my favourite, even though I'm only 20 and I was 5. I actually really thought this was a good project from Eminem, so there we go. At 40 is Mac Miller's Swimming. 39 Peachfuzz by Tabby. 38 Championship by Meek Mill. 37 Ariana Grande's Sweetner, another huge surprise. Never been a fan of Ariana Grande, always thought she had a nice voice, but this album, pretty consistently good. At 36 it's Harutosyura Harunemuri. This is a Japanese artist and album. It's so weird and fun. I really do think if you like sort of weird artsy Japanese pop, just try this out, it's really eye-opening. At 35 I've gone with Café Bleu by Dumbfounded, and ex-YouTube artist who is now sort of underground, works with some Korean artists like Jesse, who's a rapper, and Year of the Ox, who are a hip-hop duo from Brooklyn, who I really like. It's a really fun project, a nice blend of R&B, hip-hop, and pop-pop. At 34, I went with Rock Marciano's Rosebud's Revenge. Rosebud, as you remember, came out last year. Big fan of that project, really like this one as well. 33, Geography by Tom Misch. Saw him earlier this year, it was fantastic. 32, Yay by Kanye. At 31, J-Hope's Hopeworld. 30 was the Black Panther soundtrack. 29, Astroworld by Travis Scott. At 28, Hive Mind by The Internet and Odd Future Offshoot, who are just so fantastically talented. And I unfortunately just missed them this year. They were at a festival that I went to, but they were playing at the same time as Noel Gallagher, or Liam Gallagher. Yes, it was Liam, wasn't it? At number 27, it is Year of the Snitch by Def Grips. At 26, Voice by Onew, one of the members of Shiny. At 25, Bugzy Malone's B.Insprired, a surprise hit project for me. Never been that big a fan of Bugzy Malone, liked King of the North, but this was a really solid project. At 24, it's J-Rock's Redemption, and really a return to form for J-Rock. So good to see him back on the scene. At 23, another person who's good to see back on the scene, it was Freddie Gibbs with Freddie. This was such a fun tape. At 22, Vix's Eau De Vix. 21, Lil Wayne with the Carter 5. A comeback. Like, what? They have such a good project. I really got a lot of listens out of that. Into the top 20 now. At 20, I went with Isolation by Kali Uchis. Then at 19, Drogos Wave by Lupe Fiasco. Another big comeback. So good to see him back on the scene. At 18, one of the best albums in terms of like reviews by other people is Janelle Monáe with Dirty Computer. It's been nominated for a Grammy. Well deserved, it's such a good project. At 17, Some Rap Songs by Earl Sweatshirt, one of the most anticipated albums of the year, and for me, it didn't miss its target. I liked it a lot. At 16, it is Day 6 with Shoot Me Youth. At 15, it is Vince Staples with his EP earlier this year, Fun. Such a good fun mixtape. No, it's not a mixtape, it was an EP. At 14, BTS Love Yourself Tear. At 13, this actually came out at the end of last year, but it didn't make it onto last year's list because it hadn't come out yet. This is NERD with No One Ever Really Dies. Got a lot of listens out of this, saw them at a festival, was amazing. They have such incredible stage presence, was incredible to see Pharrell. Yeah, it was amazing. At 12, it is JPEG Mafia with Veteran, another one of the most widely acclaimed albums this year. It's such a surprise. I didn't really think all that much of it when I first listened to it, but when everyone was talking about that, I gave it another try, and Jesus Christ, shut up! Just gonna wait until he stops. That was ridiculous. Yeah, I gave it another go, and I really understood why people were talking about it. Sometimes with these really complex albums like Veteran, you just need to listen to it a couple more times because it can be so sort of disarming, you know, like when you listen to it, it's a little bit weird and you're just sort of disconcerted by it. Anyway, that comes in at number 12. And finally, at number 11, it is JID with DiCaprio 2. The Never Story, one of my favourite albums of last year. This, one of my favourite albums of this year. JID has 2 swings. Wow. One of the best up-and-coming rappers there is. So excited to see the rest of his career. So we're now into the top 10, and I do want to talk about each of these albums a little bit. Haven't really written much about them, but at number 10, it is Flatbush Zombies with Vacation in Hell. When it came out, it was so long. I just was so overwhelmed with the amount of new music we had, and after the Laced Odyssey, which was a really good project, I liked it, this is so much better. It's so much more consistent. I like the variety in production, and in general the instrumentals are much better, so yeah. All of their voices are so iconic, and they're such a good rap group. They are a proper rap group, and we don't have many of them. At number 9, another rap group, but maybe a little bit more on the pop side, is Brockhampton with Iridescence. This was such a weird album, a real breakaway from the Saturation trilogy, which were pretty weird hip-hop projects. This one sort of delves more into incredible music ideas. Its production is so eerie and weird, and each song has a really different feel. But to hell with it. There are some bangers on here. Like, it's such an incredible listen, and yeah, I liked it a lot. I know it was a bit of a mixed one amongst Brockhampton fans, the lack of Amir Van, but I really liked it. At number 8, it is Oxnard by Anderson .Paak. I'm a big fan of Malibu. You can't see it because this is the wrong room, but in my room at uni I have a vinyl of Malibu because it's one of my favourite albums. And Jesus Christ, Oxnard just sort of picks up where that left off and changes the mood. It's a little bit more political than, you know, Malibu never really had like a consistent theme, whereas this is so political, but it's also made the judgment not to steer too heavily into that lane. There's some really smart songs on here, and I think the production is even better. He is one of the most talented people in the world right now, in my opinion, in the music scene, I mean. At number 7 is Icon with Return. This is the only K-pop album in this top 10. This is one of the best K-pop albums I've heard. It's like point blank. It is fantastic. Real lovely combination of hip-hop, R&B, and some more sort of groovy pop sounds. Lots of fun. It's so vibrant, and there's some really, really important themes that they hit on. Highly, highly suggest this. At number 6 for the second year in a row, one of my favourite albums of the year is Father John Misty. This is God's Favourite Customer, following on from Pure Comedy. It's such a fantastic album. He is a great singer-songwriter. I really connect with a lot of his lyricism, and wow, he just somehow crafts these albums incredibly well, thematically. Doesn't, you know, go on too long, doesn't become too preachy either, works perfectly, great folk rock album. lots of fun. Coming into the top 5, this was really tough in general. Any of these albums could be put ahead of each other than number 1. Number 1 I've had as number 1 since I listened to it, really. At number 5, it is Daytona by Pusha T. Fantastic pure hip-hop album. Pusha is one of the most vicious MCs when he's on the mic. He is just brutal. Story of Adion is not on this album, obviously, but for me that's just a display of how brutal he can be, and people like Drake just don't even bother trying to, you know, compete with him because he is so much better. The instrumentals that Kanye produced on here are fantastic, and geez, Pusha just demolishes them. Lots of people will have this as their number 1 album. For me, it is only pushed out by, in my opinion, 4 phenomenal albums. At number 4, I've gone with Saba's Care For Me. This is one of the most emotional albums of the year, and I really connect to it a lot. It's opened my eyes a lot to Saba's experiences. Bucket List was great, but this was, man, it was eye-opening. I really didn't know much about what was going on in his life before this project dropped. Prom King, wow. I don't even know how many times I've listened to that song, but it gives me shivers every time I listen to it. That's how good it is. And I mean, the rest of the album project is phenomenal, honestly. I'm a little bit sad it didn't get nominated for a Grammy. I felt it could have. I felt it was that sort of project that could get nominated for a Grammy. Instead we got Drake's Scorpion. Anyway, coming into the bronze spot, in 3rd is Royce da 5'9" with the Book of Ryan, one of the first albums that really hit me this year, and I was like, this is such a standout hip-hop album. It really is phenomenal. Royce, excellent lyricist, but I've never really heard much of his storytelling and thought, you know, wow, that's amazing. Tabernacle, which was one of his prior projects, it was a single as well. That was a story, but this is the Book of Ryan. This is a detailed from childhood to how he is now, and it's so incredibly eye-opening into addiction and raising kids. It's often about his father as well and how he was raised. It really is fantastic. I think it definitely is getting plaudits, but I think some people sort of missed the point of this album. Certainly some other music reviewers did. At number 2, widely accepted as one of the best albums of the year though, is Denzel Curry's Taboo. When it first was coming out and he released some of the singles, Sumo, it was a fun banger track and I've listened to it a lot, but I wasn't like overly impressed with it. And then a couple of the other tracks were released and I didn't really get where he was heading with it. Now we have the structure of this album and I've listened to it so many times. There's a real interwoven story and the themes of light, sort of grey and then dark. It's really interesting how he did that, and for me it comes across really well. Denzel has incredible delivery and I'm really glad he didn't rely on his brutal aspects. I'm liking the more sort of melody infused tracks that he has here, and it works really well. And then he ends it off with some brutal tracks. The JPEG Mafia feature is very welcome, as is the JID feature. Overall, yeah, it's a well-deserved 2nd place. But at number 1, there was only ever going to be one number 1, and it is of course Kids See Ghosts by Kids See Ghosts. Kanye and Kid Cudi together, 2 of my favourite artists of the past 10 years, really. This is them at their best. They really combine incredibly well. The instrumentals mixed with Cudi's incredibly melodic but also soulful voice, and Kanye, he comes in screaming. So many points in here I just feel the emotions and the mixed mental states of both of them, who are both, you know, talking heavily right now about what they've been going through and how they've lived their lives, and they just shout on this album and it's just incredible. For me this is a 10 out of 10 album. I don't think I've heard an album like this ever, and yeah, it's well deserved to be at the top of my list. So yeah, that's my top 50 albums of the year. I hope you have enjoyed. If you did, don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe, more videos to come soon. This is going to be Gino, signing out to you guys soon.